Well, okay, loved ones, welcome back to Femme Floor Lamp Restoration Part 2. And what's happened since Part 1? Well, she had a bath. And for modesty's sake, we did that off camera. She's pretty dirty. And well, you would be too if you sat in a basement for 100 years. So I cleaned her off, and I'm very pleased. Bring her over here. Let's just review real quickly. She's made out of spelter, which was a very inexpensive metal. It's a soft metal made mostly of zinc and copper, and it was always meant to be finished. It's silver, we can see in color, as opposed to a yellowish color when you scratch bronze. And that's what she would look like if she hadn't been patinated. We talked earlier that ormolu is gilded bronze. And so what they've done is they have first applied a bronze patination to her, and then they gilded her. And as you can see, most of her gilding is gone. And, well, it was the Gilded Age, wasn't it? Just the very tail end of it. But the bronze patination is still there. And I like the way that it looks. You know, I'm kind of going back and forth. I could do something to put a gold color back on her, but you know, I really think that it would look hokey pokey, and I like how she's aged gracefully, and I think she just looks best left the way she is. So we're going to leave the traces of gold on her as she is and not do anything else to her. On the one piece that was broken off, which I have not epoxied back on yet, I managed to get myself a smaller grade of wire. Let me actually set the camera down and then I'll talk about that. Okay, so my decorative reproduction silk covered wire is, this is the cord that we're going to use to go to the plug. It's a little too thick to snake it through these rods. So I went digging in my stash of stuff and I found a slightly smaller grade wire. Now this is still lamp cord and this is just fine. We're not plugging in an electric stove here. We're just going to operate a couple light bulbs. So this will be the cord that I'll use from the outlet to the base of the lamp. But the thinner grade, which probably doesn't look too much thinner to you, but it is, the insulation is not as thick. I needed this to snake it through these rods, and so I've already done one, and what I did is at the end I taped it up with a piece of masking tape and twisted it very tightly and put just a little bit of Vaseline on here to lubricate the end of this, because it's very tight and we've got a lot of twists and turns in this rod. As you can see, it did not go in easily, but with a lot of coaxing I was able to get it in there and have it come out the bottom. So this piece is ready to go, and what will happen is back here, when we're all set, we will feed this back into the base of the lamp, solder this in place. I won't go all the way down yet. Well, maybe I will. Okay, we'll do that. And then here on her arm, we'll epoxy this back in place, and she'll be all set. We can then trim this and put our socket right here. All right, so we'll leave this here, and what I'm going to do is, if you recall, these old sockets were shot. These old porcelain, or rather ceramic sockets are no good. So what I'm going to do is, this is off of a modern lamp, and we have the pull chains and everything. I'm going to open these up, open the cases up, take out the innards, and take the innards, right, of the sockets, and put them back in the old cases. So we'll have the antique socket housings, but new sockets. And don't worry, I'm certainly not going to be using this shiny brass chain and these modern balls at the end. That'll be changed out so you'll never see it. But we'll have brand new sockets that are going to be, you know, working just beautifully, and we won't have to worry about that malfunctioning. So I think what I'll do now is take that apart and show you how I will trade out the sockets. Okay, that comes right out of there. And now I can take these wires off. Good thing this thing isn't plugged in. My hair is short enough as it is. Hope these aren't soldered on there. I think they might be. Because this was factory done. This is factory wiring here. I'm also going to talk to you when we rewire these about, you'll notice that we have a chrome or a nickel silver colored screw, and we have one that's copper. All right, we also have two wires here. One is black and one is white. What's the difference? Does it make a difference? Ho, well, I'll say this. If you get them mixed up, your house is not going to burn down. Okay, let's say that. But I believe in doing things correctly, and yes, there is a correct way to do it. And I have seen some restorers online say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just a lamp, you can wire it any way you want. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. We're going to see if this fits the case. And okay. The old cardboard insulation is okay to use if it's not dry rotted or burnt up from the electric lights. And that will fit right down in there. It's pretty standard. Okay, so that's good. And now I'm going to take the antique brass socket. And this is the one, let's do the one that dates to about 1906, 1907. 1908, that's this one right here. And it's going to fit back in there beautifully. Now, of course, I haven't wired it yet. I'm just making sure that it's going to work. It's going to fit. And here's the bottom. Now, there's no insulation in there, so we'll put this cardboard back in. And that's going to protect in case the wire comes undone or you have a thread of wire sticking out, it doesn't touch the outside of the socket. This is just going to go right back on and click in place. Just like that. So what we've got now is the look of the antique socket. That's the 1907-ish socket with the brand new innards. And they're going to work beautifully for the next 100 years. What we need to do is get rid of this very modern looking chain. And that's going to be a little more difficult to do. You can get extensions for these chains, and you can get little clips that will allow you to hook a newer chain on. But what I want to see here is, okay, what I can actually do is, you'll notice right here, where is it? There are two pieces of metal here that are pinched together, and they hold this chain in. I don't know if this is focusing or not. I hope it is. But they're holding this new chain in there. All we need to do is I'll get myself a needle nose plier, and we'll open these up. In fact, I'll probably do it with this screwdriver. Probably pry this right open. Okay, and you'll be able to pull this new chain out. It's kind of difficult to do this and hold this so that you can see what I'm doing at the same time. That's the difficulty. If I put it down, I'll be able to do it. So I'm going to set this down and pull this chain out, and then I'll put the new one in. I'll come back and show you the finished product. So we're going to have an antique chain and not this modern thing. The details are important. Okay, mission accomplished on one of them anyway. Here's the new chain that we took off of the new lamp parts. And by the way, I don't go out and buy these new. What I do is when I'm at my Goodwill shops, I just buy junk lamps. And I bought a pair of lamps very inexpensively and got these wonderful sockets. And I'm going to be saving this, and probably putting replacements back inside of these. But anyway, there it is, the new chain. And here is the old antique chain with that original decorative brass pull on the or cap on the bottom. You see that? You say, "Oh my goodness, this man is off his rocker." Is that how you say it? No. Now you say, "Oh my goodness, this man is just too much." Well, I'm telling you. You get these diehards out there and they want original, 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 original. And you think it makes a difference? Is that going to make a difference? When we see this old chain opposed to that hanging down, you better believe it. I mean, putting this on there would be like, I don't know, putting lipstick on the Mona Lisa. You just don't do it. It just wouldn't look right. So forget that. Here's the old chain. I'm not even going to clean it. So the old 100-year-old chain is back in place. You see, I just put it in, clipped it in place, and we're good to go. So this is going to go back in. It's all going to be rewired, and you're never going to know that we have a brand new socket in place. Now, when you actually go to rewire the lamp, you want to make sure you get the polarity correct. If you mix them up, you're not going to burn your house down, but you will reverse the polarity of the socket, and that can be dangerous if this threaded part of the socket is wired incorrectly. The silver case will be hot as opposed to neutral. It'll just always be hot. In other words, it'll always carry the current. And if it's, for instance, if it's sticking above, which this one is not, but I've seen some lamps where it actually protrudes and sticks above the actual brass outside of the socket. And if it's wired wrong and you touch it, zap. So let's do it the correct way. All right. Some cord is going to be white or black, and you can't feel any ridges or any smoothness to either one. There's no writing on it. So the black one is, if your electric wire is white and black, you want to take the black side and screw it to the brass. Okay, that's the hot side. All right, so if your cord is white and black, as are mine, we're going to wire the black to the brass. Okay, because that's your hot. The black wire is the hot, and this is the brass screw, and that's going to send current to the brass piece on the inside of the socket. We can see even on the other lamp that I haven't pulled apart yet, the black wire is connected to the brass and the white is connected to the silver. That's the neutral. Most of your cords, oh golly, Miss Molly, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? Okay. This cord here, which is a not covered in silk, we can see this. We've got a hot and a neutral, and if I could split these, hold on for a second. I'm gonna split it with my teeth. I know you guys are cringing, right? But I don't have my. Hold on for a second. I don't have my my wire cutters are in the other room, and I've got to go get them. Okay, so. Now with it split, if you feel one side is going to be completely smooth. Okay, this is smooth. This side has ridges on it. You can even see them. Maybe, maybe not. The side with the ridges is the silver. That's the neutral. That's going to go to your silver screw. The ridges, neutral, go to your silver screw. The smooth side, which sometimes has lettering on it, okay, that's the hot, and that's going to go to your brass screw if you're using this kind of wire. So, have I confused you? I'll try to sum that up again. Now where's my, hold on now. Okay, here's my socket. This is the one we're going to wire. Here's a brass terminal, a brass screw, and a silver. If you're using black and white cord, okay, the black cord is going to go to the brass screw. That's the hot. All right? That's what we're going to wire there. The white cord is neutral, and that's going to go to the silver screw, which is right here. Okay, so there's the brass and there's the silver. Now what I'm supposed to do first, and you're going to, some of you diehards are going to scream at me if I don't, I'm supposed to tie an underwriter's knot. But before we do that, you want to know how many times I've gone and wired up a socket and then forgot, and then you go, you grab the bottom of the socket or the decorative piece and you can't get it on because you've already wired it. We've got to work backwards. Now I haven't soldered this in place yet, it's just sort of hanging here, but that's all right. What's going to go on first? This decorative piece right here. It would help if this were soldered in place, but I will get to that. Okay, so that's going to go in place first. Then goes the bottom of the socket itself. That's what screws everything in place. Okay, so we're going to put that one on next. Notice there's no insulation in the bottom yet. I'm going to put one in there though. Okay, here's my cardboard insulator. It's important that we use that. In goes the cardboard insulator. Okay, so you see, eventually, this part of the socket goes in the decorative piece and it will pull it up and it'll screw on right there. Now I'm ready to actually wire the socket itself. And you want to take your wires, and first of all, if they're frayed, twist them clockwise. And then make either a candy cane or a shepherd's crook, whatever you want to call it. Okay, like that. Do that on both of them. All right, there we are. Okay, here's my screwdriver, and here is my socket. All right, let's open up the brass, unscrew the brass screw. All right, excuse me. Now remember, as I said a minute ago, brass is hot. And in this case, we're going to use the black to go to the brass. And I didn't tie an underwriter's knot. And I'm actually going to show you why I'm not going to do that. I don't really need to do it in this case. And get the wire completely underneath the screw and make sure that your shepherd's crook, get out of there, make sure it is facing clockwise and that you're turning your screw clockwise and everything is going clockwise. That will help to suck the wire right in and twist it in tightly in the right direction. If you put your cord on there in the opposite direction, it will come unfrayed and it'll be a mess. All right, it's on there. It's underneath the screw and it's good and tight. And likewise, we're going to take the white cord, which is what? Neutral in this case. And that's going to go on our silver screw. All right. By the way, you can't see this, but I'm being stared at by the cat. He is perched where you can't see him, but he's monitoring everything. All right? As he always does. All right, I'm going to turn this clockwise and suck those wires right in there. And sometimes they want to fray out a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's good. Nice and tight. And then you'll see I'm going to, now we're going to work in reverse here. Let me pull her back over. Hopefully you can see this. So, actually, you know what? Let's just pull this out because it's broken anyway. I've got to repair it later, so move that. All right. Decorative, up goes the decorative leaf piece. And here goes the, this is, okay. There goes my socket bottom. And now I'm going to reach in here, and it's threaded, but you got to get it start. Once you get it started, once it catches, it'll be easy. Of course, it's not wanting to catch easily for me. I think I've got it. There we go. Nope. Oh my goodness, hold on folks. Ooh, that was my knee hitting the cabinet. See, with that, if I didn't have this on, it would be very easy. I just have to get the threads to catch. Which I think I've just done. Okay. We did. So now I'm going to reach in there. We just have this extra difficulty of making sure this is good and tight. And it feels as though it is. Okay. Now you see why I did not solder this back on or epoxy this back onto the lamp. It would have been very difficult to do that. To do all of that. All right, it's in there. And it's good and tight. That's not going to go anywhere. All right, I'm pleased with that. Now I'm going to push up my insulated cardboard. Get that in there. Okay. And now the socket itself. So pulling from the bottom. It's all right. We'll put that in place. All right, getting in there. That's all good. Okay, now I'm not going to pull it too tight yet. Here's the outer shell of the socket. I've got my cardboard insulator, and this is the original, and it's okay because it's not all burnt up and all dry rotted. I'm going to fit this down over the top, and I am not going to click it in place yet because I want to make sure the wire is hanging correctly so that we can pull the chain. So what I'm going to do is put it back here the way it would be, basically. And it would fit right here like this. Once we get it all, once I get it back in place. And you can see I need to get the chain so that it's hanging below these leaves so that we can pull it. And so I'm going to want it to come out of I want it to come out between the bottom two leaves. So we're going to turn it around. Come on now. And of course of course it's bent. Everything you do, there has to be something. Okay. I know that you can't really see what I'm doing, but okay. Pull this cord through like that. And now get it in there, and you will hear the reassuring snap. Are you ready for the reassuring snap? Listen for it. No, that wasn't it. Hold on. All right, the problem is our decorative leaves are sort of in the way. They're bent. We'll bend them out of the way. There we go. Now, here we go. You ready? Here comes that reassuring snap. That was it. Did you hear it? We're good. It's in. It is in there. And hopefully not to come out of there for another 100 years. So, chain is working beautifully. When this is in place and it's hanging just like that from her hand, everything now looks completely antique. We have an antique socket. We have an antique chain. Even the little brass piece on the end of the chain is original and antique, but on the inside, a brand new inner socket which will work beautifully, and brand new electric wire where we do not have to worry about insulation fraying off and anybody getting any kind of a shock. So this is going to be put right back in her hand like that, and then wired through the bottom, and we will be almost ready to plug this in. Okay everyone, now what I've just done off camera, because you didn't really need to see it, is I went ahead and this is the first one that we repaired and rewired. We showed you how to do that, and this is the broken rod right here, which I haven't fixed yet. And then I went ahead and rewired this socket and put it back. So that one is all complete. It's back in place with the old, with the same pull chain that was on it. I'm going to adjust the lengths of these pull chains later. And you can't see anything on here that that looks new or reproduced. Can you imagine if we went out to one of the big box hardware stores, bought one of these, and stuck that in there? That makes my skin crawl. Ooh. No! Okay, my father taught me that details matter, and I'm not going overboard. This is a detail that, as far as I'm concerned, there's no compromise here. We've got to put the old stuff on it. And it's little details like that that just make this lamp look original, just the way I like it. Okay? Wonderful, safe, brand new socket on the inside. This mechanism is going to work. We're going to be able to turn this thing on and off 1,000,001 times and not worry about sockets that are going to short out or have broken springs on the inside. So we've got two working sockets. As I said, I'm going to adjust those chains at the end. That's an easy thing to do at the end. Now, we would be almost ready to fasten a plug, to fix one of the plugs on and light her up. But that would be if we were dealing with one socket. We're not, we're dealing with two. Okay? And then we've got to also address the on-off function. How are we going to do that? Let's turn her around. And again, if it was just one socket, we could bring the one cord out of the back here, wire it up, and we're done. Not the case with this lamp, because we've got two sockets. So we're going to turn her upside down here and pull this back out. Get in the frame. Okay, so we have one socket here. I've got to take that tape off. That was so I could feed it through the rod. I'll take that off. This goes to one of her sockets. This goes to the other. So the two light bulbs. What we need to do is sync these together so that we can wire it all up to one line cord here, okay? And take this one line cord, which then goes to our outlet. Now, what I can do is we can actually just go ahead, and we don't have to put any type of on-off switch down here. We're going to be able to just wire these together, splice these all together, twist them together, put the plug on it, and plug it in. And then this, of course, will be our on-off switches right here. Okay, so let's get the wire cutters out. I already have these cut down here. These are cut. I've just got to take that tape off. Then I have to cut the insulation off of these, and I'll show you how we're going to get all this wired up. And we've got about 5 more minutes to go, and this beauty is going to be ready to be lit. Then the last thing I'll do is do the epoxy work on the metal and she's going to look like she did almost in the Gilded Age. She's lost her gilding, but hey, you know what? We all show our age, don't we? I think she's beautiful. What say you? Okay, we're ready to connect everything together here. So we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires sticking out of the bottom of this lamp. And a little while ago, underneath the sockets, I talked about what's called the underwriter's knot. And let's see, they didn't actually do it on that lamp, and they didn't do it on the old socket either. But the knot, see, there's not a lot of room. There's very, very little room in the bottom of the socket for a knot. And that knot is just to keep from anybody, if anyone is tugging on this cord, I don't know why you would, but if you were happen to tug on this, you wouldn't want to pull it loose from the screws that hold it to the socket. So you just tie a little knot. Now I've done that under here. Nobody's going to be tugging on this electric wire, but just because you're supposed to do it. I've tied the knot under here, and also I've tied a knot in our line cord, see, to keep it from, that's important though, because we don't want anybody pulling on that and to pull it through the hole. And then all of these cords are going to be shoved up underneath the bottom of this lamp, and I'll create some kind of a, probably a cardboard facsimile of what was there just to cover the base. So now it's easy. We're going to take all of our neutral wires, which in this case, if you remember, is the white. The black wires are hot, and they go to the brass screws. So we're going to take our white wires. And the reason why I have tape on this is because this cloth cord will fray. And if I don't tape that off, it's not going to matter on the inside because I've got the knot. It's not going to fray, and you're not going to see it on the outside. And there's rubber insulation anyway. I really just did it for to keep it out of the way so you could see what I'm doing. Okay, here's one neutral from one socket. Here's the other neutral from the other socket. Now I'm twisting everybody clockwise. All right, come here to me. And we're going to get these two together. Okay, can you see? I don't know, I'm asking you questions like you're answering me. Can you see what I'm doing? We've got these two, and I'm going to give them a twist. Those are my two neutrals. Okay. Let's get our line cord in there, which is going to go to our outlet. We'll get all three of these together. Get him in the middle. I guess you can see that. Yes. And we're going to give all three of them a good clockwise twist. Okay, that's pulling them all together. And then we're going to cap them off. And the screw on the inside, this is threaded on the inside, and that's going to just pull them all in, twist them all in. You can buy these in different sizes at electrical stores or any type of hardware store you want to go to. Okay, that's on. It's on very tightly. It's not going to come off. And we've got all of our neutrals together. Just give it a little tug. We're good. Now let's take the three hots. Hotsy, totsy, hotsy, totsy, totten boy, totten, hotsy, totsy, totsy. All right. And, okay. I think I'm a little short here, but I think we're going to be all right. I purposely didn't chop off too much. Let's see, does that feel like it's catching? It does. That feels good and tight in there, so I think we're okay with that. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're all wired up. Okay, and this is all going to get tucked up in here where it will live. And if you really want to be overkill, you can go ahead and wrap this with electrical tape
if you're afraid that these are going to pop off. They're not. And again, I'm going to put a cardboard base on this eventually anyway. But everybody here is going to get pushed way back up inside, just like that. And let's stand her back up. Okay. And I'm going to turn it around and show you that I did remember to thread the wire through the hole in the back. How many lamps have I done? Got it all rewired and then went, ugh, Gott und Himmel. I didn't put my cord through the hole, and you got to undo the whole thing, and that is if you've already wired it up to your plug. Now, which plug should we use? That's more of a 1920s plug. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to actually use probably the oldest looking one, which is this one right here. And it will be, or is rather, perfectly safe to use. I'm going to have to put a cardboard insulator on it, but no problem. All right, so I'm still connected here to the spool of wire. How long should it be? Well, if the lamp is for your own personal use, and you know where you're going to put it, cut it as long as you want it. 3 feet is kind of short. 4 feet is good. 6 feet is better. 8 feet is just way too long. So what I shall do now is just go ahead and decide how long I want this to be, and I'll cut it off, and then we'll wire it to the plug. Well, there she is, looking much like she would have around 1907, maybe 1910. I'll let you have a good look. Now I've put some decorative light bulb covers made of glass beads, and this was something popular to do at that time. They may have had exposed light bulbs, but and remember, I still haven't done this repair yet. That'll be the last thing that I do. But she's all back together again. Oh, I also have to adjust the length of the chains. This one is much too long, so I'm going to adjust that so that it's about the length of this one, and then eventually I'll replace that so that it matches the not the finial, but the little brass cap here. Okay. I still may just give her a light coat, sprayer with a very, very light coat of lacquer. And don't get scared by that. It'll be a satin finish. You won't really see too much of a difference, but it really will protect her from future deterioration. And there's the original cord. There's the nice old reproduction silk cord. And there it is up there with the new, and I only used about maybe 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet of it. I didn't get crazy because the cord is not that cheap. Well, I guess I ought to turn her on, huh? All right. There's 1 and 2. So she's just providing, and I'm using the flicker light bulbs in there to give the candle effect. You could put Edison bulbs in there, which would be appropriate. Edison style bulbs. Let's see what she looks like with a little bit of light off. Very nice. Can you imagine having your home electrified when you only had kerosene lamps or oil lamps prior to that, and getting your first electric light and having this in the parlor? How exciting that must have been over 100 years ago to do that. Let you have a better look. I know the backsplash and all the junk in the kitchen is keeping you from really appreciating the good view. I'll move her out and put her on a nice piece of furniture and let you see what she looks like in the living room. But there's a certain satisfaction with the job completed. And I'm happy to say that she went from either a dusty attic or an old basement or maybe a barn, and now she's back to life again.